strike a devastating blow to the anchored fleet of the U.S. Navy. The Japanese then strike south against Guam, the Philippine Islands, then Singapore, Burma, New Guinea, and Java, before a U.S. naval campaign begins accosting the Japanese fleet. The Allies aren't ready to attempt a return to Europe, but by late 1942, must open a front against Hitler to divert German focus away from the Soviets. The landing of Allied troops in North Africa puts the infantry on the ground there, and the soldiers begin a long and bitter drive up through Tunisia, then Sicily, and eventually mainland Italy. Meanwhile, American ground troops begin a brutal island-by-island campaign to force the Japanese back across the Pacific. On the southern coast of Britain, 80 divisions of Allied infantry soldiers prepare to invade Europe, launching the greatest amphibious attack in military history on D-Day. The stormy sea tosses, often capsizes landing craft. Soldiers struggle through the surf, braving murderous German fire as they fight for a foothold on Omaha and Utah beaches. Nearly 5,000 troops die on D-Day, so the U.S. Army...
Many anti-aircraft batteries may feed shells and fire them with clockwork precision. American industry has met the challenge of all. American factories have achieved the impossible. Where automobile fenders once were made, aircraft propellers are turned out by the thousands. Where watch cases and contacts once were made,
In March of 1947, President Truman introduced a policy of containment, and for the next 40 years, American soldiers would be deployed around the world, shielding democracy against Soviet expansion. The world feared a nuclear war.
We were poorly equipped for winter, still wearing our summer uniforms.
Our sleeping bags were the wool blanket mummy bags. Cut the bottoms off, cut holes for our arms, and wore them until Parkers were issued.
We used empty ammo cans and made small stoves that we put into our bunkers. We scrounged wood everywhere, from the shattered trees, empty ammo boxes, C-ration cardboard covers, anything that would burn.
a sudden, one of the men in the company stepped on a mine. There you are, all day, sort of going along. You're exhausted from the heat, exhausted from moving along, checking, wondering if you were going to run into something. By the middle of the afternoon, this tiredness has taken over your body, and all of a sudden something dramatic like that happens, and it just sort of unnerves you. We called a medevac chopper, and they took away the guy's body. And then we just started walking again. It was like a surreal existence.
1990, the nation of Iraq invaded Kuwait, its oil-rich neighbor, sparking months of protest around the globe. When Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein refused to withdraw, a UN-sponsored coalition launched massive airstrikes against Iraqi targets, and 6 weeks later, unleashed a devastating ground attack. February 24, 1991, just before dawn, 700,000 coalition soldiers from 28 countries wait to attack along a 300-mile front in the Saudi Arabian desert. At 4 a.m., the assault begins. Under the U.S. 18th Airborne Corps, the French 6th Division with the 82nd Airborne Division strikes in the west, racing towards Al Salman Airfield, 90 miles inside Iraq. In the east, the 1st, or Tiger Brigade, 2nd Armored Division, reinforces a marine assault into Kuwait. At the center, 7th Corps prepares for their next day attack against the Iraqi main defenses. 1st Infantry Division begins breaching Iraqi minefields and barriers, while 4,000 vehicles of the 1st and 3rd Armored Division's infantry tank teams move into position,